is Not Sam Wrestling.
Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
Well, excuse me.
Excuse me!
Look who's here, Vickie Guerrero.
Good morning, Sam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm here in New York City.
I know. It's been a really long time.
It has. I saw your name. I'm like, I wonder if this is the same Sam Roberts I met in L.A. That was a long time ago.
It was. It was for, I don't even remember what year SummerSlam it was.
Oh, I don't know.
But it was back when it was still in L.A. every year.
Yeah.
And it was
at a bowling alley.
When Radio Row was at a bowling alley. It was a hip bowling alley.
Yes,
but yeah,
it was the elite.
But, I mean, what is it like for you? I mean, especially on, like, WrestleMania weekend. You're here for WrestleCon and to do appearances there. But to kind of be around this madness again. Because if anybody's familiar with WrestleMania weekend, it's you. You've been able to step aside from it, to step back into it. Do you start to feel the itch, or do you?
I always miss it.
You do,
especially inside the ring. I watch the product on TV, at home, and I think, gosh, I would love to be in the ring, one more time.
Really?
Yeah. So you can't ever lose that love for it. You take the girl out of the wrestling, but you can't take the wrestling out of the girl.
Is there anything that you watch specifically, or anyone that you watch that you go, yeah, I want to do something with that, or do the storylines start to formulate in your head at all?
Of course. I always see the women's division. It's become so successful that I wish I was there to be a part of it, because it's so exciting for the women that are able to, main event for WrestleMania and the pay-per-views. And I was part of the Royal Rumble for, the women. And it's exciting to see what's going on, with WWE and how they're involving the women with the product.
Had it changed at all since you left when you went back there to do the Royal Rumble?
It's changed a lot because there's so many new faces.
Yeah.
Especially from, coming from NXT. I don't know, I'm not around it, so I'm not familiar with a lot of faces, but what incredible talent they have. And it's pretty interesting what I see every week.
So when for all the years that, like, Eddie is doing what Eddie did and wrestling on the levels that Eddie was wrestling at, did you have any inclination? Like, oh yeah, I could be a performer. Yeah, like whether it's on the microphone or in the ring. Like, oh yeah, I think both of us could do this.
Never. I was supposed to be at home, raising the girls while Eddie toured, and that was my role. I was okay with it because I was kind of the backseat, taking care of the family while Eddie, provided. But once he passed away, and then probably about 4 or 5 months later, I inducted Eddie into the Hall of Fame, and then they asked me in probably August of that year, you want to come and do a couple of things for Rey Mysterio and, Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. And I was like, sure, but just 2 months, nothing, major, because I have the girls at home and I like being at home. And 2 months ended up being 10 years. Well, even more than that, because I still go back and forth.
Right. And did you have any sort of like inclination too that it would be as a heel? Because you would think that you're naturally suited. As beloved as Eddie honestly still still is, like, you would think clearly you're in this position to be the ultimate good guy. And, in pretty short order.
I was never a good guy.
Never.
I was a horrible person on air. It was great, though. I think maybe watching Eddie for so many years.
Yeah.
And I always love the heel versus the baby face, because the heel has more fun. And to be able to take the crowd, from boos to maybe believing in me that I was going to be a good guy for that, night, but then I would turn and become, the horrible person that I was.
Yeah.
It was fun. I got to manipulate the people in my hand, and that was the gift I had, to see how mad I could get them for that night.
So you never felt insecure, because they say people people have been accused of being afraid of heat. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Especially when you're not a wrestler, you're using your real name. You look like your real self. Like when you go to the grocery store,
it's me.
It's Vickie Guerrero there, except maybe not wearing a cougar necklace,
right.
But everything else.
You never know, Sam.
That's true. That's true. I don't want to make any judgments, but were you ever presented with something, or was there any idea that you would go, I can't do that because people won't separate it from me?
Well, I think I was the odds were against me at first because I was Eddie's wife.
Right.
I had the Guerrero name.
Right.
A lot of people believed that I didn't deserve to be on stage, or I had a place in the WWE, and I had to earn that in so many ways. And for the McMahons to believe in me and to have that chance to kind of see what it would be like, and I loved my character and what they gave me. So when I believed in it and I loved it, it worked. And I just had a great time, and to work with great people like Edge, the Undertaker, the girls of Michelle McCool and Layla.
Yeah.
It was just, everything just kind of fell into place. And by the grace of God, he gave me a talent that I was able to use, and I loved it.
And you were really unaware of that talent before
Never.
Before WWE
I
was
never
like, why don't
used
you?
excuse me at all, ever before.
Did you know you had a shrill voice? Did you know you could scream like that?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
did
did
that
know
with my
that.
kids, and with Eddie too. But every woman has a little bad side to them, so I got to bring that out every night, and that was fun.
Right. So your kids are watching, going like, "No, I know
Yeah,
her. I know that version of."
I know that look.
How did your kids feel about Vickie Guerrero and the way you manifested on television?
They loved it.
Yeah.
These kids were, they're just incredible girls that knew what the schedule was like for the wrestling industry, and they were used to Eddie being gone for, long amounts of time. And so for me to be able to sit down with them and say, this is what I might be doing for a while, they were great with it. We went through a lot of nannies, some good, some bad, but the good ones made the times a little bit easier.
Yeah,
but
for
they
sure.
were just supportive. And of course, my oldest daughter, Shaw, she was part of NXT, and she still performs in different wrestling promotions. So it's just something that we always have, accustomed to our lifestyle.
Totally. I mean, you the wrestling business and your family, it's like it is
Just gels all together.
It is. It's one thing, right?
Yes.
So when the Vickie Guerrero action figure comes out, and you're looking at the very first one, are you like, what have we created here? Like, we've gotten to a place. This is a tiny little version of me. This isn't just some. Is that the moment where you go, this isn't just some bit thing that we're doing. This is life.
Yeah, especially, to see how they produced my image into this doll, and to see how fans tore the legs apart, and the arms apart, and threw it across the street, making videos. But that was when I knew that, I was able to earn my place there.
Yeah.
And to be on the video games, too, is something really exciting. So to play myself and to win against everyone, that was kind of fun. But, these are gifts that it always be special in my heart.
So who comes to you with the idea, like, Vickie, you're amazing on the microphone. We think it's time for you to get in the ring. Like, who comes to you with that idea, and what is your initial response?
Well, I knew something bad was going to happen every night because we, of course, during the day we're at catering and we're getting ready for the show. And when I see Vince McMahon come up to me and go, "Guerrero, how are you doing today?" And that was kind of my cue that every time he did that, there was something he wanted me to do that was pretty special. So he believed in me a lot. And I love that man. He's like our family. And so for him to have that trust in me to do something, on a live show, I was very honored.
But do you remember the first incident when they came to you and said, "No, we want you in a match"?
Gosh. Yeah, it was with Edge. I think I had to, he had to spear me and I had to spear him. And they kept telling me, just make sure, when Edge spears you, you don't hit your head on the, turnbuckle because it's going to hurt. And you might, if you get caught on the rope, it could hurt your neck. I was like,
just make sure you don't do that.
Yeah, make sure you don't do that. Space yourself far enough. But Edge was great. Such a professional. And he took care of me. And he always told me where to be at the right time. And he showed me the psychology of the match and helped me respect it even more of what the whole match was supposed to mean for the night. And that was something that I always take to my heart.
How do you make it comfortable with a guy like Edge when you're gonna be doing things physically on camera that aren't the most comfortable for anybody to see? You're making out. It's very passionate.
Those aren't difficult, Sam.
They're not difficult
Those
for
things
you.
aren't difficult.
You managed to pull that off just fine. I see. Do you guys talk about that ahead of time, or do you just go, "We know what we're doing here"?
They tell us what we're supposed to do, and we kind of get together and see what's the most disgusting, rivaled way that we can make everyone upset for the night.
Yeah.
And so, of course, our making out wasn't romantic and sincere. It was gross and disgusting, and that made it even more real for our storyline.
Well, Edge had to be the perfect person to be paired with, because you talk about a guy who just loved being a bad guy.
Oh, he was incredible.
Edge was perfect, wasn't he? I still think he's underrated.
Yeah, and it's really sad that he had to step away from the ring, when he had to retire. But just a professional, I mean, just creative, talent that always used psychology and cared about what was going to happen in the matches. And so to be able to stand by him and watch him work was just, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, there's an amazing clip of you where you cannot, the audience will not let you get a word out. I don't know. I don't remember where it was, but it's making.
It was Austin, Texas.
It's kind of making the rounds again. People are like,
Yes.
"Do you remember how?"
It was Dolph Ziggler and
Yes.
John Cena.
Yes, and every time you put the mic to your mouth, boo!
Oh, it was horrible. I think we had like maybe 10 minutes to be on air.
Uh-huh.
And, when they start going over and the guys in the corner going, okay, guys, need to wrap it up. And I couldn't finish my promo. And the guy was just like, just go for it. Just go. Just keep on going. And of course, John Cena, took advantage of that and just let it drag out even more. But
Right.
It was fun.
I mean, it seems like a blast.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating. I couldn't finish my promo. and even Dolph was standing there going, what do we do? Like, this has never happened to us.
Yeah.
But, of course, John, he was just so funny, and he took advantage of those kind of moments. And I finally got to, get everything out, but it was a fun night.
Yeah. Now, when that stuff happens, I mean, it's got to be helpful that John Cena is there with you, because I would imagine that even though you want to soak up the moment, right, and say if this is happening, let's let it be organic, and there's somebody telling you just keep going. Like in your head, you're like, I'm only supposed to be taking up a certain amount of time. I'm taking time away from this person. I don't want to get backstage and have them go, you went long. But when John Cena's in the ring with you, it kind of starts to make everything okay.
Yeah, if I'm going to get in trouble, he's going to get in trouble too.
Right.
So I'm okay. I'm not just by myself.
You really are a natural villain. Just throw him under the bus with you, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite moment or angle or match or anything that you go this is the thing that I want to be the legacy of Vickie Guerrero in the WWE?
Yeah, I think the one unforgettable moment was with the Undertaker when he tombstoned me, because I'm the only female that was able to get tombstone from him.
Yeah.
And Undertaker didn't rehearse this at all.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Kid, don't worry about it. Just whenever I lift you up, just go limp, and I'll take care of you. I'll lift you up." He goes, "Just make sure you don't fall down from my waist, because you only have 3 inches before your neck breaks." So I was just like, my neck is gonna break. Possibly this is good. The last day that I'm gonna be here.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun, and I wanted to do it again when it was over with. It was such a high, yeah.
Yeah.
And he went backstage and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Let's go do this again."
Yeah, because the reaction. I mean, not only so in your head you're going, "Oh my God, I'm getting tombstoned by the Undertaker right now."
Yes.
There's. You get leg dropped by Hulk Hogan, you get tombstoned by The Undertaker. It's about as legendary as it could possibly get.
Yeah.
And because you're the only female that's going to happen to, the crowd is losing their minds.
Oh, they went nuts.
Yeah.
Because, there was a payoff, for Undertaker, because for months I was tantalizing him and giving him such horrible nights, and taking championships from him. And, of course, I had Edge. So I was helping him cheat to win. And, so I guess there's always a payback for the villain, right?
Of course there is.
And it was for that night. And it was a lot of fun. And I was scared because, I wasn't a natural in the ring. I never had any training. And for
Really?
and for the Undertaker to tell me, just trust me and don't drop, hold me tight. I was a fan, and also, just in shock. I was able to do this. So for him to trust me with this, I was excited.
Did you know going in that, okay, before you start wrestling, before you start doing anything physical, did you know when you started feeling the amount of heat you were getting and the boos that you were getting? If you're really familiar with wrestling, this, whether they tell me or not, I know this has to be paid off physically. That's the only thing you can do with this kind of energy. Did you know, because you were so close to the business, that at some point, even before they told you, this is going to have to...
Well, I never thought they would have me go in the ring and do a match, because I thought there was a special love for me and, some attention, well, this is Vickie Guerrero, Eddie's wife. We can't put her in a match. She's not, trained for this. But, when I started seeing that, how bad I was going to be towards the other characters,
Mm-hmm.
and to know that, oh, Vickie, you're going to have a match next week. I'm like, what? This is insane.
Do you know,
who
I am?
Excuse me? But, the guys were great, they took care of me. And I loved it, to be able to take bumps and to cheat, and be ridiculous in these dance-offs and run from the ring. And they would, of course, they would catch me. It was just fun, and it added on to my character. And the more they allowed me to do, the more that I wanted to just keep taking more.
Yeah, you were talking about having to like kind of prove yourself and why you were there and all that. But I would imagine that pretty quickly, I mean, I know like as a fan, when you can see somebody's level of commitment to the performance, right? Like you can see when you're watching Raw or SmackDown when somebody who's new either doesn't get it or doesn't take it seriously or shouldn't be there. And then you can see when somebody like they are the character. Like I just can't see a difference. They are locked in. And I feel like from day one, you were locked into that character. Like you took it seriously. You performed with absolutely everything that you had. And I would imagine that pretty quickly the locker room and the guys go, okay, she's here for the right reasons. Like this is going to be good for all of us.
Well, Sam, that's interesting because when I walked into the ladies' locker room the first time, I was the heaviest lady there. And then we had these beautiful, gorgeous ladies that were, like Tori Wilson and Sharmell. You had Lita. These were gorgeous ladies. I thought, I am not going to survive in this industry. There's no way. But what I had to prove to myself was it wasn't going to be how I look. It's going to be my talent inside. And I loved the industry for what it was before I even stepped in, to the locker room. So to know that they allowed me to be a character, I wanted to do my best. And that was something that was important to me. So when they gave me the heel, character, and I was able to, take a little bit of Eddie, and put that into my character and, just be creative on my own. It was just, it all worked.
Yeah. What do you attribute your kind of natural ability to? Is it just simply instinct? Because, going out there and cutting long heel promos every single show and maintaining that energy every single show, like you had the reactions you were getting were exactly the reactions that you were supposed to be getting, and they were real. And that, I think sometimes people take for granted your ability to get those reactions, when the truth is that people train for years and still can't get those reactions.
Yeah, well, I had God on my side. I always prayed before I went out, and
please, God, let them hate me. Please, please let them hate me.
If they didn't like me and they didn't hate me, then they can't put you back on air. If it's not working, they're not going to keep using you. So, to be able to work at my craft. And I had a lot of great people that helped me. I had Dusty Rhodes. I had, Chavo. I had Teddy Long. I had Paul Heyman, who was just incredible to show me, different ways. Because my very first promo I went out as, Vickie Guerrero, I sucked. I was horrible. And I went through Gorilla and Dusty.
Could you feel it as you were doing it?
Oh, yeah. I was just like, I'm not going to last here at all. Because they gave me a long promo. I mean, It was something that I thought they were going to gradually, get me in there. But
is it one of those things where you get like halfway through the promo and you're going, oh, no, this isn't going well?
Yeah, the sweat's going behind my ears and, my fingers feel tingly.
But you finished it.
I did.
You got through it.
Yeah.
And you go through Gorilla.
And Dusty Rhodes is standing there and he's like, sweetheart, you suck. We need to work on this. And he took me under his wing, and just sat down with me and just showed me how to have confidence and not show them that I was scared. And he goes, if you want to do this, do it all the way. You can't hold back. And that's when I was starting to let go a little bit and not be so scared that I was Eddie's wife or, that I didn't belong there. I had to believe in myself, and that's what worked.
Isn't it great to have people around you to tell you when you suck?
Yeah. I mean, it was very hard to hear at first.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible. But it's like, it's somehow being told that you suck is way better than in the long term than somebody lying and being like, no, it's good.
And you see the horrible articles the next day. Like, she doesn't belong there.
They don't know what they're talking about. Don't listen to them.
Dusty told me it was great.
Yeah.
So I think, for everyone to be real backstage, because this affected them too. It's everyone's product. So when I heard the bad news or the bad advice, and I was like, okay, I need to work on this. And I did have a lot to work on. I didn't do this before.
Of course.
So, year after year, I just, kind of dug a little deeper and always watched everyone else. Sherry Martel was a great, role model.
Oh, my God. That's the perfect role model. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm watching, like Miss Elizabeth and just watching the guys, too. Shawn Michaels do an interview. You just kind of take little bits and pieces and look at their body language and how they present their promos. And you just kind of start, reading into it a little bit more.
What is that feeling like for the first promo? Because, I mean, you didn't work at all. It's not like you were doing indies and you were doing this. Like you were obviously
housewife to
that's it, right?
Yeah.
To go right to WWE.
Yes.
The first time, because you can practice, you can rehearse your lines, you can step in the ring before the show so you can kind of feel what the dimensions are like. But what I can't imagine is the first time that you step in the ring and then you look up and it's 20,000 people and they're all just staring at you waiting. Like, that has to be the most intimidating
It's horrible.
thing in the world. I never understand, especially, it's one thing, maybe you can get used to it somewhat, but for somebody like you, the very first time it's happening, I don't even understand how the brain would function.
Yeah, thank God I got to work with Eddie before he passed away.
Yes.
So to be able to work at SummerSlam and some other live TV events, where we were promoting the Dominic storyline.
Right.
I got a little bit of taste of what it was to have, the big crowd. And at SummerSlam, that's when I threw Eddie on the, off the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped a little bit because I kind of felt the,
the
the
feeling.
crowd. Yes.
Yeah.
But I was the good guy, because
Right.
I went against Eddie, so that was a fun feeling.
Yeah.
But, intimidating is when, you're doing rehearsals and Vince McMahon wants to hear your promo before you go live, and everyone around the ring is just standing there watching you, and you're like, now you want me to do this now? And I was horrible. I didn't do very well. And
You're the second person this week that's told me, yeah, it's intimidating being in front of the arena for the first time, but doing it for Vince is way worse.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible because he has no face on him. He's stone face. And all he told me was, we need to clean this up in 2 hours. And I was just like, yeah, 2 hours. Is that all I have?
Yeah. And then he's on to the next thing.
It's overwhelming. Yeah, and they do
And
rehearsals.
you're going, what does clean this up mean? What is this?
Yeah. Yeah, very overwhelming.
Wow.
But it pushed me.
Yes.
It did push me to memorize my lines and get going.
Well, it becomes very sink or swim, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
it does.
you chose to swim. Isn't it great seeing Dominic back on TV now? Have you
can't
seen that Ray
believe
has
this.
Dominic with him?
He's what's gonna happen with this storyline, right? It's
What do
gonna
you-
be son versus father.
I hope so.
Of course it will.
Yeah.
It has to come to an end sometime, but that's what I want to see. It's gonna be great.
I just love that storyline lives forever, because as soon as I saw Dominic, I was like, oh, you fought for his custody in a leg match.
Now Ray looks like the kid 'cause he's so
Totally.
short.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
Dominic's tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you, when Ray was returning for the Royal Rumble, I was there. I was doing the
I
kickoff.
saw him that night.
Yeah, I was doing the. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That was your
We were
Rumble.
both
Yeah.
surprises.
Right, yes. And I didn't see either of you because I was over doing the thing over there, but I went out into the crowd for the Rumble, and I didn't know anything that was going to happen. But before Ray came out, I saw this tall kid get walked past me to go to sit on the floor, and I looked at his face, and I was like, wait, is that I'm your papi? Is that Dominic? And I went, oh, I bet Ray's here. I knew it because I remember, because I knew his face from when he's a tiny little kid.
Because they keep us in this room, where no one can see who the surprises are. And we walked in. I'm like, he goes, "You're here." I go, "You're here." But we talked a little bit, and it's just great to see him again. And these are great
Yeah.
when WWE has functions and we get to see our old friends. It's just a big family, so it's always
Absolutely.
a good time.
Was there any worry when you go out for the Royal Rumble that year? Was there any worry people aren't going to care? People aren't going to remember me?
Of course there is.
There
Sam.
is. Yeah, there is.
Because I've been gone. I was the one who chose to retire.
Right.
But the way they had me come out, and of course I tried to win, but it didn't last very long. It's still a great feeling, to go out there and to know that the fans are going to react to the excuse me and to my whining and throwing a tantrum. It's a blessing.
Yeah, when you say excuse me and you still get that reaction, is that like the, oh my God, everything's okay, this is going to be really fun, actually?
I can still come back and do this again.
Yeah.
It's great. It's the adrenaline is so it's overwhelming.
What made you retire, or what made it so that you wanted to retire?
Well, I had been there for 10 years.
Yeah.
And you start getting used less and less in the shows. You're traveling, all over the place. And when you're spending more time in the locker room than you are in the ring, you start wondering, is this my time to get out? Is it time to retire? And I wanted to do other things in life. I wanted to do acting and finish school. And I wanted to spend some time with my girls before they moved out, because they both had graduated from high school. So I just wanted to say, I think I wanted to leave before you get released and they wish you well in your future endeavors.
Right. Leave them wanting just a little bit more.
Yeah. But I still left my doors open, which was really important for me when I talked to Vince, that I would like to leave, but I gave him a year advance. So I was very
a year?
Oh,
wow.
absolutely.
Okay.
I gave him a year. I said I'd like to leave within the year. and they were very respectful of that.
Was there any point when you give that kind of advance, was there any point throughout the year where you were like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that?
Yes, there's always those shows
Yeah.
you're like, maybe I shouldn't like, quit, but
Because I feel like when you give a 2-week notice, sometimes by Thursday, you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Can I take that back?
No, but I prepared myself. I moved to Houston, because I was in the medical field, so I found a job over there, and just kind of set myself up, to where I
Kind of started
I was
life.
ready to
Yeah.
leave, whenever that final date came, and it was great. Stephanie McMahon gave me the match of a lifetime, and for her to be able to be so involved, and she goes, I want to be a part of this. I'll always be grateful to her for her involvement.
Yeah, I guess people outside of wrestling will never understand, but like the way you left, it felt kind of perfect. Like,
It was too perfect.
Right.
I was like, why'd y'all make this so hard?
yeah. Like to an outsider, it might be like, this is humiliating. Why would you do this? But I'm watching it and I'm like, it's poetic, right?
Yeah, it was. And they surprised me with Eddie's music at the end. And
Yeah.
they didn't tell me, so that was like, it was special, so it was
And
a
you're doing
great
the Eddie
night.
dance when you're dripping.
Yeah,
and
eyelashes are in the mud.
Yeah. What was that mud made out of?
It was like dog food and flour and some chocolate pudding. It was disgusting. And even the fans that were by there, they're like, this smells so bad. I'm like, you're not in this. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I'm glad that you're back out and doing signings and things like that. Are you always surprised at the signings, at how much love there still is for Vickie Guerrero?
Yeah, I was at WonderCon last week, and this week I'll be at WrestleCon, and then of course and next week I'll be at the El Paso Comic Con, and the fan love and support is just incredible, and I'm grateful because this is my time to be able to talk to the fans and say thank you for all the love and support.
I feel like when people make their lists of GMs, of the great GMs, or even when people are like, oh, there might be a new GM, you're always at the top of those lists.
Thank
Like,
you.
I mean, and I don't know many people who don't put you on that list of either their favorite GMs or when they go, they're bringing a GM in to do Raw or SmackDown. Very quickly into those conversations,
Thank you,
there's people
yeah.
going like, oh, they should bring Vickie back, or
I would love to. I mean, I always miss it.
Yeah.
And I always think that, if I was a voice for Ronda Rousey, I think that would be like incredible to be her manager.
oh,
'Cause
especially
I saw
this
her
version of Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw her promo one night and I was just like, she needs someone to talk for her. She's incredible, full of strength. I mean, just
She's
a
great.
brilliant athlete.
Right.
I mean, I would hate to be on her wrong side.
But the
to
way
think-
you can get under people's skin.
Yeah, I think that would just be such a great combination,
Yeah.
to have a little bit of my, chemistry with hers. I think that would be fun. But
Did you learn a lot? How much did you work with Paul Heyman? Because I do feel like now that you're saying that, there is a lot of that sort of kind of a female equivalency to advocate Paul Heyman in Vickie Guerrero.
I love Paul. I mean, he's such a strong character, but he's not a character. That's who he is. I
Yeah.
mean, it comes so natural to him. But we got to work in the ring several times, and even on house shows and just backstage. He would always give me pointers, and he would just what was great about him is he never wanted a verbiage. He didn't care about scripts. He goes. And I was like, oh, here's your script. He goes, we don't use scripts out there. And I'm like, so what are we going to do, Paul? And he goes, let's just go out there and have fun. And it was the best time I had with him because I always look forward to working with him because there was no words. He goes, we know the storyline. Let's just go have fun with it. And
Yeah.
it was brilliant. Just brilliant with him.
It's awesome. It's also so funny that you went from, well, okay, I'm just gonna come in and do a couple things here and there, to not only being on TV every week, but you're on the house show loops.
I know.
You saying that you're working with Paul at house shows just like triggered in my
Oh, it
mind.
was incredible. And
Like,
house shows are so much fun.
Full time. But yeah, I mean,
because
they're
there's no time limit. You can go out there and just have fun. And
Yeah.
it was just it was like a fun time. And there's no stress of TV and time limits and who's where. Where's the camera? It's just go out there and let's have a good time.
Are you gonna try to pop by WrestleMania while you're here this weekend, or are you the type that only comes when you're doing something?
No, I'm going to be with WWE tomorrow night. I'm
Oh,
doing
great.
a table for 3 with Kurt Angle and Eric Bischoff.
Oh my God.
Yes,
That's
I'm
fantastic.
very excited. So I'll be doing that, and I'm going to cruise the hotel and see who's there and say hi.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's such a
Yeah.
good weekend to do it all, isn't
Oh,
it?
it's such a fun weekend.
Yeah, it really is. Well, Vickie, it's so good seeing you again.
Thank you, Sam. It's
Hopefully,
good to see you.
yeah, you too. Hopefully
I wish
we'll.
you so much success and love.
Oh my God, thank you so much, and same to you.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see each other again a lot quicker than this time
Yes.
from the last time. Thanks,
Thank you,
Vickie.
Sam.